Everybody, what is up, everybody? It's been a minute. It's been a minute, and I say that because yes, it's been a couple of months since we actually recorded, and so of course, just gotta get a couple of things out the way. Elijah, happy belated birthday! Happy
Oh
belated
yeah.
birthday! Like, how does it feel to finally be in the 30s club? How does it feel to be in the 30s club?
Man, listen, I was not looking forward to it. And then I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm 30. Like, let's do it. You know?
Yes.
So it's been fun, man. Just nothing's really changed outside of the fact that I have to think of myself as an adult. Like I'm not a younger person anymore, you know?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
So yeah, man, it's been good. It's been good. God's been doing a lot of good stuff in these last couple of weeks. So I can't wait to share some of that with the podcast once it's done. But man,
Yeah.
God's been really good. I'm looking forward to it. Just came back from a bachelor party for one of my close friends, Jonathan. He's getting married in October, man. So it's been a good few months, bro.
Good.
Good few months. How about you, bro?
Yeah, man. I haven't had a birthday, but have gotten more so into a flow since the wedding, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And as we are indeed just a couple of weeks away from summer officially being here, I couldn't help but really think through some of the challenges that I was facing at my church, right? Or my churches, because I have two. I think that, of course, my background, as you can see, is different.
I was
Uh,
gonna say, you want to explain a little bit?
yeah, man. It's camp pitch season, and I just have to say, with you not being here for the first time, right? Like everyone's just like, man, Elijah's he traded on us, he betrayed us, he betrayed us, he betrayed us.
I miss it, man.
Um,
Yeah.
and, because the team is like slightly smaller. It's slightly smaller.
Hmm.
Because things have been happening, but camp pitch season, Allegheny East, right? We indeed are getting ready for camp meeting.
Hmm.
And so, today we were staking. We were staking,
You were
and
staking today?
we were staking today.
Jeez.
And for those of you who don't know what staking means, we actually have to hammer. We have to hammer poles into the ground so that we can create barriers. All right. We have a rope that we tie together, and we create barriers so that cars are not able to park just anywhere, because sometimes people
Mm.
can mess their cars up, and
Yep,
other times people will just have their cars parked wherever they want.
wherever
Like
they
church
want.
people, we could be trifling sometimes. And so, like, if we give individuals an inch, like, they'll try to park any and everywhere that they're
Yep,
not supposed to be and be hazards. Okay. And
yep.
so we were staking today. And so that's why, if you see in the back, yes, this is where we typically eat. But as I was up here, Elijah, having conversation, typically whenever pastors get together, yeah, we talk about personal life, but we also talk about, hey, how are things going within our churches, right?
Mhm.
And so this is the first time I'm up here as a senior pastor. All the years prior, since 2021, I was an assistant, then finally an associate pastor
That's right.
last year, and so now this grind hits a little bit differently,
Yeah.
being that I am a senior pastor, a lead pastor, right? And so one of the things that's been on my heart and mind is church growth.
Mhm.
And Elijah, let me tell you why. Um, it is currently, and I hope I don't get flack for this, it is currently my opinion that, at least within the American Seventh Adventist Church, we do not know how to steadily grow our
Mm.
churches. And when I say grow, I mean like numerically, but like as in people.
Mhm.
Um,
As in
I
numbers and tracking numbers and
Yes.
okay.
And for me, I don't know what it is, but when I look at the New Testament and when I see the apostle, like the accounts of the apostles, where it seemed as though that they were sharing the gospel and individuals were being won to Christ, like, I get confused, because I'm like, man, what is it? Is it that Satan has gotten accustomed to God's tactics, and now he
Mm.
has he has better uh methods to quelm
Mhm.
the or qualm the strategies for kingdom building? Is
Yeah,
that it? Or is it that, we don't have a good system when it comes to adding and increasing the amount of people who we're adding to the kingdom?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Here's what I want to say. Here's what I want to say. I think I recognize that as Adventists, we do a great job of taking care of our people, right? I think that we disciple so well. Okay. I believe that when I think of denominations that disciple very well, I think we have to be in the top five, if not top three, in terms of denominations.
yeah,
And so we have so many things for people who are already a part of us, right? However, when it comes to people who are not yet a part of us, and forget um other denominations, right? Because I recognize, and and correct me if I'm wrong, but my brand of Adventism growing up was, let's convert. Our job as Adventists is to convert non-Adventists into Adventism. That was the flavor of Adventism that I grew up in, where
yeah.
my job was to show Methodists, Pentecostals, Kojic,
So other
Baptist.
Christians,
Yes, I
yeah,
like
into
my
your
job
version of
to show
Christianity.
them how the error of their ways, and to convince them to be Adventists. Okay. Um, I obviously, based on how I described that, I think that's faulty thinking, right?
Hmm.
But let's not even consider them, right?
Yeah,
Let's consider, how do we actually reach unbelievers, individuals who are either not sure about God, or just God was not on their radar at all? And how do we get them into our spaces? I do
yeah,
not think that we do a very good job of appealing to that aspect of our mission, as much as we appeal to making sure that the people who are already believers are growing and our understanding of what the Bible is saying.
yeah. I
And so
think,
that's kind of sort of like where I
yeah,
am.
yeah, yeah. I feel like that's a first of all, that's a very camp meeting, or camp pitch, conversation. Like
Yes,
that's like a
yes, yes. You're right. You're right. You're right.
like talking
You're
while you're
right.
eating, talking while you're working. Like that's a very like camp pitch conversation.
Yeah.
Did y'all settle on anything, or was it just an open conversation with like no?
I mean, naturally, you know that most of our conversations it end open endedly. And there's not really a pinning things down. But it was one of those conversations that didn't necessarily have an endpoint just yet.
Yeah,
And I think it's possibly because of the fact that it's something that many of us are possibly experiencing at our own churches, and we don't necessarily know what to do about it yet. And
yeah,
so it could be uncomfortable for pastors to really talk about, because the truth is like, yeah, and maybe I'm being too hard. Maybe I'm being too hard. And so if I'm being too hard, Elijah, please let me know. Let me know.
I'll try. I'll
Uh,
try.
But I think that this is something that a number of pastors are kind of sort of dealing with when it comes to not really experiencing church growth. And so,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this topic? Do you think that churches, do you think that, let's say, not just beyond, that's not just Adventism, do you think, the Christian church in general, from your limited knowledge, do you think that we have a church growth problem?
Um, I think it depends on what demographic, right? Like if you look at the numbers, if looking at the church in like South America, right, and the church in Asia, right, like it's growing exponentially. The
Mhm.
church in China is growing exponentially,
Yeah,
right? But the church in Western countries, so Australia,
it's surprising.
uh, right, like Australia, America, right, Canada, Europe in general, like it's I think it's slowly declining, but it's not a rapid decline, right?
Mhm.
And I think one of the things that we were talking about was that it's not like we don't want like parents have two children, all they're doing is replacing themselves in the population, right?
Mhm.
Um, what church growth is parents having 3 children or 4 children, so that it's not just a replacement, but it's adding to the number of the population, right? Like church growth isn't supposed to be a leveling game. And I think we do have a Western church problem. I don't know if it's a general church growth problem. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Like I think it's localized. It's regionalized rather than global because the church is growing in other places numerically, whether it's Adventism or some other denomination of Christianity, it is growing.
Yeah.
But I think the church in America, um,
It's
capital C church, yeah, it's struggling to grow. I think they're maintaining right now.
Hmm. Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm interested now, because I mean, this is limited, right? So just for anyone listening, if anyone listening, like we didn't research this, just this is kind of sort of like just barbershop
Yeah.
talk. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah, I do that too, yeah, man.
if there's a person, in the comments that's ready to be like, well, actually, the
Here's
numbers
what Pew
suggest,
Research
right?
said about
I want to ask, what do you think? What do you think is a central part of the problem that many of us are facing?
I think it's open-mindedness.
Open
Like,
mindedness.
yeah, yeah, like, so this might be a little pushy, right? In
Push.
my current in my current context, right? In my current context, I've had to learn to rethink some things.
Okay.
And when I was talking to a guest that was there at church, right? I was like, she was like, "Oh, this is like I'm trying to find something to hold. I don't have anything to hold. Uh, she went to it's very interesting. She went to Brinklow. Like her membership is at Brinklow, and she came
Okay.
by to New Hope just to kind of see the church and stuff. So she said, I've heard a lot. I would love to stop by, so I came by. And the way I met her is there's like benches outside of our coffee house, shop place. It's all free, and in between, before first service and after first service, it's open for people to come in and grab drinks, whatever.
Yeah.
And she's outside of it on a bench talking to a young adult that I know, and I said hi to him, and I said hi to her, and she's sitting with her purse clutched like this, right?
Wow.
Um, like
What?
exactly. And I read the body language and I was like, she's uncomfortable, right? But she's talking very normal, but her body language is, I don't trust this place. I don't know what's going on here, whatever. And I started, I was like, hey, how are you? Oh, my name is Elijah. Just want to say hi. I'm a pastor here. Just wanted to make sure that I said hi to you. And she's like, yeah, hi. Hi, hi, hi. Yeah, it's my first time here. It's just so different from what I know. And I was like, oh, got it. So where's home? And she said, oh, I went to Brinklow. And I was like, oh, Doc Harris. I was like, tell him I said hi. Like he's a mentor of mine. And then, I explained a little bit of my background and everything else. And she's like, oh, gotcha, gotcha. She's like, this is very different, right? And I was like, yeah, it's different. But I said, but as you can tell, like people call this home because it's meeting with them where they are. And she was like, okay, and the whole time she's still clutching her purse like this.
Oh wow.
And then um
Would,
like
did you probe and ask, well, what's different?
I did.
Okay.
Like first of all, the coffee stuff. Like she's just like, I said, I don't know coffee, and then you're giving it away, but it because it's set up in a way where you have to put your order in, right? But you aren't paying for it.
So you
So
gotta explain to like the people who don't know, because you know,
yeah,
like
that's right.
what people some people are still possibly getting introduced to New Hope since that's your new assignment. So
Yeah,
like, you said coffee, you know, if you're non-denominational, I think that's kind of sort of like a staple at like many non-denominational churches where like they got coffee for you, things
a
like
coffee
that.
bar.
You
Yeah,
know, Adventism, a part of our health message, we discourage caffeine. Like
yeah,
we discourage caffeine.
yeah,
And so, New Hope, interestingly, Serves coffee. Serves coffee. Like,
We have a coffee bar. Well, it's more of a coffee shop, right? But that has no buying and stuff. It's just free coffee, free milkshakes, free tea. In the summer, there's cold lemonade,
okay.
right? So you come in, it looks like a normal coffee shop where you come in and
Yeah.
you put your order, right? And they make it for you and they call your name out, your little order, right? And
Yeah.
it's in a separate area of the church, uh, down a hallway, but
Yeah.
it's before first service and after first service. And then we have a second service, right? So you there's a chance for first time guests to come in, get your little order, have a little cup, walk around, talk, go into worship, whatever, da da da. And it's cool. But what I walked away from that conversation with this lady, who was great by the way, very kind, whatever, but her body language gave her away that she was uncomfortable. Like she's
Yeah.
like, like the music is different and um because it's very production-y, right? They have lights, there's a fog machine, right? There's
Oh,
uh
that's what you meant by is different. I thought you were like,
oh, sound and worship
thought you were
too.
going to say like, possibly CCM or
It
cross.
is so like that too. That too. That too.
Yeah.
It was this is like not what I'm used to because Brinklow is more gospel, right? So she's like, you know what? And then also the preaching is different, right? So I know how Doc Harris preaches, right? Very different from my current lead pastor. And it's not that it's a bad difference. It's a the audience is different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like the target audience is different.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I had to tell her. And I was like, hey, I understand that it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I said, you'll notice that there are a lot of people here that are not traditional Adventists. And there are a lot of people here that come here to explore their relationship with church
Hmm.
because they feel more comfortable here than they do at any other space.
Hmm.
And then I said, our target audience is different from Brinklow's target audience. Um,
Hearing you say that brings up a couple of things for me.
yeah,
First and foremost, it makes me question one, are our churches that have obviously been around for a long time? Because Brinklow Church has been around for a long time, right? I don't know
mhm,
how long New Hope has been around because I don't know anything about Chesapeake Conference,
yeah,
right? But a number of our churches, especially let's say in the DC metro area, um, like long time standing churches, right? They're not new.
mhm, mhm.
Are they too churchy for the culture that we have now in America? Are they
No,
possibly too churchy?
no,
Yeah. Okay.
because here's the thing, right? And again, this is me learning as it's happening to me, so I don't have all the answers, but this is where I am right now. Is if I've also had people come into New Hope and go, "This is not for me,"
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Like they're Christian, they're like, "This is not for me," because they're like, "Hey, I need someone that goes deeper into the
Granted.
word,"
Granted.
right?
Granted.
I need music that is more of this and not that, right? And then I tell them, hey, if this is not for you, please go find another church. What matters most is having a relationship with God and having a community that's spiritual, right?
Okay.
So it's not like once you make these changes, you'll attract everybody. You're always gonna leave somebody out because
Okay.
someone is always not gonna like it's always gonna be around 80%, right? This is just like a random number. Like if you do everything well, you'll still have 5% of people that say they don't like it, right?
Yeah.
Um uh last thing I'll say is this. There's
Can we
yeah,
can we pause real quick though before
yeah,
you get to the last thing?
yeah,
Is is that my
yeah, yeah,
internet?
yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
so question is this, right? Um, I just want to make sure I understand. I understood like your point. You were saying that part of our problem, if we recognize we have a problem, is that we're not open enough.
Yeah,
Is that what you said? So
yeah,
when you say we're not, I know you gave the example of the young lady visiting the church and her her, body language kind of sort of giving it away that she was uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Um, but when you say, we aren't open enough, are you saying that she wasn't open enough to, I guess, the different experience that she could possibly obtain at New Hope? Or are you saying that, let's say New Hope wasn't open to an individual who has her type of background?
It was the individual, right, that was not open enough to realize that every church doesn't have to look the same.
Got you. Got you. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Not every congregation has to look the same. And in Adventism, Grace Church, Grace Adventist Church in Orlando looks the same and feels the same as North Point Church in Seattle, right? Like
What are these
it
churches? What are these churches?
two random churches, right?
Okay.
Um, it's the fact that it's the same thing, right? It's this. It's like going to a McDonald's, right? That varies just a little bit from here to one that's out in New York. There's there's like this idea of it. There's consistency in the branding of Adventism, right?
Yes.
That if you go to one Adventist church, it should be like you went to another Adventist church, right?
It's interesting though. It's interesting that you say that, because I think there's a good thing. Like there's it, that it's good that you can have a certain level of expectation no
Yeah,
matter what church you go to. But I also think of, like, let's say, like ethnic churches, right? Because I mean, you grew up as a member at SASDAC,
yeah.
right? And you know, very fancy way of saying the Indian Seventh Day Adventist Church, right?
Yeah.
Um, at your church, do you think your culture was allowed to be free, or do you think that it? Whoa!
It was like you went to
Oh,
a normal Eurocentric church,
oh.
right? It looked like you went to a normal American church, except some things were in a different language.
Okay,
Um,
so
yeah,
hear me out. Hear me out. And I'm saying this as a critique, um, and I think we should be able to critique spaces that we're in, because no
yeah.
space is perfect. I think that one of the limitations of the Adventist Church, as a person who pastors and has been a member my entire, I think that it does not promote the unique cultures that make it up.
Mhm.
Um, and we're a global church, and to a certain extent, we do not allow individuals' cultures to really shine through. If anything, what I've noticed is that our cultures kind of sort of get suffocated by the GC's definition of how a church is supposed to conduct themselves.
Which is
And
the global body, right?
yes,
The global executive body, right, of our
yes,
church.
yes. And so I don't know if if you are afraid of an individual critiquing, our church. I'm sorry, this is not the space for you. But I think as an individual who, one, loves being Adventist, right? I love it. But I'm also objective enough, self-aware enough to understand, where we fall short, right? I can clearly see where, we have some areas of growth. And I, to be told, I don't even know if this is an area where we can grow.
We
Um,
can, we can, we can.
please.
I have optimism in it, right? Because New Hope has done it. Like it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of trimming, right? Like if you've ever had a plant, right? Like there are some plants that need to be trimmed in order to thrive, right?
Yes,
Like they grow too fast and they never have flowers unless you trim their branches, right?
yes,
I feel like in some way that's a church, right?
yes,
Like some churches need to be trimmed in terms of people or in terms of the whole church, right? In order for a flower to grow somewhere else, right?
yes,
Or in the place that they're at. And that's a really hard thing to say, but you see that example in the New Testament, right? Where where Paul is saying, hey, there are some people that don't need to be invited back into community, right? Um, and in the same way, for our church, we kind of have an open mind of saying, hey, we've done things a certain way for this long. It's worked, right? It's the like I'll never be the person that say we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? We have done some things that work, right? But in the things that are not hard found in scripture,
Yeah.
let's be flexible, right? Like let's have like let's change the time for Sabbath school, right? Or let's change the time when Sunday school happens if you go to Sunday school, right? Like, let's change the time that happens because people's schedule looks different now, right? Some people wake up early in the morning and they don't want to wake up early in the morning again on either Saturday or Sunday, right? Let's figure out a time where we can have that, and then let's mess around with the budget so that we can have food after church, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's not do potlucks anymore. Let's change the budget around. Let's let us prioritize this and not that. Like, there are so that's what I mean by openness is like, hey,
Yeah.
your kids aren't going to Adventist school anymore, or your kids aren't going to Christian school anymore. You have a fully funded Christian education account. Let's get the church together and have a vote and use those funds, right, in a different way because our community no longer needs it to be addressed in that way. So let's just, be open-minded. So
Love it.
that's what I mean is if our churches, man, are only attracting other Adventists, then that's a problem because that's not what the church goal is, right? Um, yeah.
But I think this is where I'm kind of sort of like I'm stumped because I don't really know because I believe that there are individuals who are looking for churches, right?
Mhm,
I do believe that individuals want God and they want spiritual community. Um, I'm wondering if the fact that we worship on Saturday, and this is not me saying that we shouldn't. I'm wondering if the fact that we worship on Saturday and only on Saturday is a double-edged sword, right?
mhm,
Because one, it's a positive that we get to show people like, hey, yeah, we still live out the blessing of the Sabbath. We believe that God gave us a day where we don't have to work, right? God
mhm.
said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And keeping it holy means not working. It's that simple,
Yeah.
like who would have thought that God would call something holy because you're not working, right?
Mhm,
Um, and so it's a blessing. So we get to show people, hey, there's this very amazing gift that God gave us in the Sabbath. But at the same time, because like the world has kind of sort of established Sunday as being the go-to day for church, right? Um, Individuals don't necessarily look at us and say, "Oh man, let me check this church out. Let me check this church
mhm.
out." And
That sorry.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
A Anecdotally, I have had some people that have done that, and they've chosen to come to to Adventist church on Saturday to check it out. I don't know
Okay,
what the general numbers on that are, but anecdotally in my life, I have had people that go, "Well, I go to church on Saturday, but no, sorry, I go to church on Sunday, but I decided to stop by here because y'all go to church on Saturday, and I just want to see what it was like." Um, am I saying it's like 30 people? No, I'm saying it was like maybe like 5 people, right? In 5 years in ministry.
certainly, and this, once again, I could feel that. Well, actually, people, you know, waiting to get up and say something. Once again,
Yeah,
this is acknowledging the double-edged sword,
yeah.
right? When individuals are going to look for a church, they're most likely going to look for a Sunday church, a Sunday
That
church.
is that is one step away on either direction of where they're already at, right?
Mhm.
Like they don't want to take 10 steps to the left or 10 steps to the right. They'd rather take that 2 steps to the left or the right and explore because it's safer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Here's something I'll say. I think that let's say young adults, right? I think that young adults are so interesting um, in ways that young adults weren't interesting back then. Not, and what I mean by that is the young adults back then, they were interesting in their own way, in a different way. Now, we operate differently than young adults did 20, 30, 40 years ago, right?
Yeah.
When I say young adults, what I really mean is post college, um, before 40, right? Um, I think that one of the things that I think really reaches young adults today is um production.
Mhm.
I think it reaches young adults in a way that it possibly didn't reach individuals in the past. Um, and here's what I'll say: there are some individuals who are churched, who are quote unquote pew babies, who would disagree, but you disagree because you grew up in the church, right? You know, if you possibly are not a pew baby, if you did not grow up in the church, you know, when you see production, you're like, oh, this seems like very professional, and you want a space that is professional.
Mhm.
And I say this because I'm currently in two churches that are stark differences from my first assignment at Metro. You know, at Metro had different praise teams each week. You know, we had a rotation of praise team leaders who led at least six background vocals
Mhm.
weekly, and now you know they've expanded to the point, Elijah, where they have nine background vocals singing
Wow, that's awesome.
behind. Now I say this because in my two assignments that I have now, by the grace of God, at one of my churches, I have sisters, two sisters, who faithfully sing week in and week out, right?
Mhm.
In addition, at my other church, I have like a family. I have a family who faithfully lead. However, it's not a bunch of different people.
Mhm.
It's limited, and you know the quality is different as well.
Yeah.
Naturally, smaller, that's what happens at more intimate sized churches than your larger churches. Now I say this because in my opinion, what impresses what impresses young adults is high quality stuff. It's professionalism. It's the reason why a bunch of people like going to larger churches. It's because it makes you feel good, one, to belong to something that seems like it's winning and that's doing well.
Mhm.
And then it also like just piques that side of us that makes us think, man, I can take them seriously because it looks like they take themselves seriously as well. Does that make sense? Does that make
It
sense?
does. It does. The professionalism makes sense, and like something popped in my mind. That is the double-edged sword, by the way. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
of because I think, well, I know of the individuals that go to churches with that mindset more often are consumer mindset. Like they have
Yes.
like a consumer mindset, right? And I think that's the problem. Like um it does take sacrifice to be in community, right? Like
Yes.
it takes so much sacrifice to say, man, you know what? I am not gonna stay in today. I'm gonna go to church. Like that is sacrifice. You know what? I'm actually not gonna go and have lunch with this person or that person this Saturday. I'm gonna go to my church lunch, right?
Yeah.
That is sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I think the church can do its best to lower the barriers,
Yeah.
right?
Good
But
point.
at one point, there has to be um not people have to make a sacrifice, but at one point or another, individuals are going to be required to make a sacrifice
Yes.
in order to make church a priority, right?
Yes.
Like I think right now, church is just one of the things on the list,
Mhm.
but it's not even top three, right? So in that world,
Good point.
right, churches can only do so much without lowering our standards,
Mhm.
right? And I don't want to lower like for me, I'd rather have 5 people in my pews that are day in and day out,
Good point.
right? Than because I am dealing with this mindset right now at New Hope, which is a consumer mindset of I'm gonna come here for this and that, but I'm not gonna put anything back in. And for me, it's hey, we're gonna do our best. We're gonna have these things available. If there are no individuals interested in helping, we're gonna lower the things that we do because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna burn out the 5 people I do have. And once we get more people and your buy-in, we'll start adding more things onto the schedule. But as
That's
of
it.
right now, right, like this is what we can do. I love your ideas, but I need you, right? I've had multiple lunches at this point where I've told people, they're like, well, we need this, we need that, we need that. I was like, can you be there? Well, actually, I have lunch on that Saturday. I can't be there. Well, actually, I'm traveling that Saturday. I can't be there. And then I was like, well, once you're back and you're ready, I would love to get back to this conversation, right? And they go, yeah, you're right. I just can't give you ideas and not follow up and do them. Da, 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 da. And I was like,
That means you're not serious. That's pretty much what you're telling me. You're not serious.
yeah.
You know. And okay, and so that to your point, I think here's the reality. I think that whether you're at a large church or a small church, you have individuals who have become consumers.
Hmm.
I don't remember when, I don't know when it happened, but I think church at a certain point in time, probably somewhere between the 70s and the 90s, it became a space where individuals kind of sort of just started going out of obligation versus conviction.
Hmm.
Um, and what I mean by that is, listen, I think when it comes to belonging to a church, this is my personal belief. When it comes to belonging to a church, um, attending a worship service, whether you go to church on Sunday or Saturday, Friday, whatever it is, right? That is kind of sort of like barrier level one, like
Hmm.
the lowest level where you're starting to just attend, right? And I think here's the reality: there are several people just attending. I actually had a pastor. I can't even take credit for this term. Isaiah Long. He said this. He said that there are several individuals who are full time visitors. All they're
Mm.
like they're there pretty much every single week, right? Or whatever every single week looks like in 2026, because we know everyone doesn't go to church every single week faithfully anymore.
Yeah.
Most people miss 1 to 2 weeks a month, right? Not most, or there's a growing number of individuals who are missing one
Yeah.
to 2 weeks in a month, right? And the reality is a number of individuals are full time visitors. They may even give financially speaking, but they're not really contributing, like their time and
Hmm.
their gifting. There are
Hmm.
some individuals we don't even know what they're gifted in because the only thing they do is just come to church.
Yeah.
They drop their kids off at Sabbath school, you
Yep.
know, and so I think a part of what my answer to my own question is, what's the problem that we're having? I think in addition to saying, yeah, we could improve professionalism. I think that we need to remember why the church was created in the first place.
Yeah.
Not just the building, not just the building, not just the worship service, right? Like, because that's it's okay to call a church that. It's okay to refer to your church and your worship service as church. But we have to remember why the group itself, why it
Yeah.
was formed by Jesus before he went back to heaven. And I think that to a certain extent, I think we've forgotten, the Great Commission, go ye therefore, and make disciples,
Hmm.
baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them
Yeah.
all things that I have taught you. I
Hmm.
think we've forgotten it. I think we've forgotten it. And I don't know, I don't know how, if we can like establish churches where we really get members to see, hey, this is priority numero uno.
Hmm.
Priority numero uno is not for you to come to a worship service each week. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not it. Priority number uno is not for you to get a word each week to encourage you. No, you don't need a pastor to encourage you like that. Like if you're really spending time with God throughout the week and reading your word, like, or picking up a book, like you can get encouragement on your own. You can get encouragement on your
Absolutely.
own. And if you actually are interacting with church members throughout the week, you can pour into them and they can
Hmm.
pour into. That's the encouragement. And so I just, these are some of the things that are going through my mind, and I feel a
Yeah.
rant going on, and so I'll stop.
No.
I'll stop.
No. No. Because those are things that I think most churches have had ideas like that or thoughts like that of like, hey, we're supposed to be growing, right? And why aren't we growing? And I think most of the time we fall too short. Like that list of why aren't we growing is surface level,
Yes.
right? It's just, oh well, we didn't have the lights, we didn't have the production, we didn't have this, we didn't have that. Dr. Peeler called them bells and whistles,
They are
right?
bells and whistles. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, no, it's not the lights, it's not the fog machine, right? It's not it can be the sound sometimes, right? But like it might not be that. It might just be that it's not the church isn't warm, right? No one says hi to guests when they come in, right? Like it could be deeper seated things that are in the DNA of that local church that need to be addressed and then changed, right? Um, so in my mind, it's hey, you know what? Let's have a real honest conversation and say, hey, these are some things that are happening, and what I've seen happen. Like I told this to the young adults at the leadership at New Hope that are young adults. I told them a very hard truth. I was like, "Hey, this is the real truth,"
Hmm.
and I got immediate pushback. And
Mercy.
then, like a
Not a
emotional
new
response.
pastor coming in and not a new pastor coming in and keeping it real. Mercy.
Yeah, yeah, I got a very emotional response to it, right? And then I I was like very cut and dry, and I was like, "Y'all are leaders." I was like, "If I can't have this conversation with y'all, like we can't talk about anything." And then
Mercy.
like just like I was like, hey, like this is a matter of fact. It was hard for me to get there. I needed coaching from Mike, who's a lead pastor, right? I was like, hey Mike, it's okay if I say this? He was like, yeah, sure. He's like, yeah, like don't say it any other way where it's it's placating, right? Because it's not, no, it's just like if it's not you, it's gonna be somebody else, right? So let's go ahead and fix this right now. And the place where I've gotten is if you can't have that honest conversation, not just you, Juwan, but like people in general
Mhm.
that are listening. If you can't plainly state what's wrong, and you get that emotional feedback of it's not me, it's you, or it's them,
Oof.
right?
Oof.
Then that church doesn't really want to grow.
Yeah.
Like that church doesn't want to change. And at that point, you have to make up your mind: A, if you're willing to fight the battle, right? Or B, is it time to pick up, dust off your feet, and go find another community?
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Well said. Well said. And it seems like, to be honest, this conversation is going to have to contain that we're going to have to process through, because no
Mhm.
matter what, like I love serving the Lord,
I
right?
love it. Yeah.
And I believe that I am called to be a pastor, and I also recognize that, like, at times pastoring can get discouraging in ways that other jobs do not get discouraging.
No.
And I think one of the ways that pastoring gets discouraging is not seeing it all click together, and the way that the Bible at times shows it to click.
Mhm.
But I think that this is something where I I I I I think we have to continue talking about it, because um, one, the word is true, and I believe
Amen.
that there is a harvest. There is a harvest, and that churches can produce harvest, even in the times such as this. And so, listen, we're going to end the episode here, especially because we got meetings to get to as pastors.
Yep.
Um, and so, listen, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. And please make sure that you like, share, subscribe to our podcast. Our podcast. We indeed will truly be launching the new name very, very, very soon.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for it, and be blessed.
Yes, sir.
Elijah, do you have anything else that you want to share with the people before we go?
No, y'all. We're looking forward to the next chapter
Yes.
of this podcast. And sorry that this episode took so long to get out. We're looking to be more consistent in the future. But all right, y'all. We'll catch the next one.
Peace.